Hello, everybody. My name is Benjamin Bloom. This is the Benjamin Bloom Football Show. And in the wake of the Championship season ending, we've been celebrating a couple of teams and their promotions, done videos on Leeds and West Brom and how they did it. You can check them out elsewhere on the channel. However, they are not the only teams leaving the Championship, because whilst teams go out the right end, teams also go out the wrong end as well. So we're going to have a little look on the teams in that bottom three, the ones who went down and what went wrong. That obviously means Charlton, Wigan and Hull. And before I get any comments, you can't talk about Wigan until the appeal. You can't talk about this until FFP and Sheffield Wednesday and Derby. Well, I'm going to. This is what we know at the moment, and this is what I'm going to talk about. So we're going to start today with Hull City, who finished right down at the foot of the table. This is an outsider's view. Obviously, if you're a Hull fan, you'll know all of this stuff. But maybe if to my Championship subscribers, we can try and tell the tale as accurately as possible, then a few more people can learn about the plight of Hull City over these past few seasons. Just in general terms, I just want to kind of refer back to a conversation I had on a podcast I did. It was previewing the Championship last year with the excellent Harry from Bath. And we actually talked about what relegates clubs from the Championship, because it's not the same as the Premier League and, all the mega money. And it's not the same as someone going down from, say, League One to League Two, where things are very much different. And the theories were as follows. Number one, just too small. And I use the terms big and small advisedly, and hopefully not in any way a patronising manner. But the Championship still does have levels. You have teams with parachute payments who have got way more money than everybody else, and probably still Premier League players indeed. You have teams that can draw big revenues with big supporter bases, big attendances, and make money to bridge a bit the gap between them and the parachute teams, what we would traditionally call big clubs. And then you have teams that don't have either. They don't have a big support base, they don't have big commercial revenues, and they certainly don't have parachute money. So they're what we would term small clubs. And some, thinking particularly about Yeovil and Burton when they were up, are too small and just basically do all they can and can't survive. Some run really well, like, say, Rotherham, who famously made a profit in 2018-19, but was still relegated, but then have bounced back from League One, and you would argue that they are running well. Did they have a freak bad season in terms of relegation? Were operational decisions made well? The right manager may have been there. Recruitment was good, and just maybe key injuries to key players at key times and bad luck in key games. Could it be a freak season? And finally, at the bottom there, owners relegate clubs. Did the owners just make a right mess of it and either make really hapless bad operational decisions, or did they want to run it in a way that makes a profit for them, but does not have a winning sporting team, which is kind of the whole point of sport. Obviously, being able to do both is the holy grail. So we're going to deal with Hull City today. Hull got relegated down in 16-17, but you will see that season in the Premier League was basically a big shop window for the owners, the Alarms, to try and sell the club. Some deals there that could have but didn't go through there. The first one there, 80 million to a US consortium. Alarm asked for more money for the stadium management company. Then a Chinese consortium. They actually failed the fit and proper persons test. I'm sure Wigan fans will be interested to see what an owner who fails that one actually looks like. Chinese consortium then fails to raise the finances, 130 million, goodness. And then down the bottom there, a US-Chinese consortium They want 60% of the club, and the Alarms do not want that. Just in really broad terms, there were some good times under the Alarms at Hull. Local family, local businessmen. Remember taking them up, new stadium, Phil Brown, some good times in the Premier League as well. But then kind of realising that to go the extra level meant that you basically, it's a billionaire's plaything now, isn't it? And just a rich in terms to you and me, incredibly rich people. But that's not enough to, sustain as a football club in the Premier League. And football clubs are not normal businesses. You can't run them and make a profit and pay dividends to yourself and be losing all the time, because your customer base gets very, very annoyed. Obviously, the fabled parachute payments, they happen from the 16-17 relegation. 41 million coming the first year, 34 million the second year. Remember, struggling. Remember, if you're only up for one season, you only get 2 years of parachute payments. What did Hull do in those 2 years with parachute payments? A lot of information on this page, so look carefully. First of all, look down at the bottom. They hired Leonid Slutsky, who only lasted 155 days and 21 games. And then Nigel Adkins took over, a much safer pair of hands in terms of the championship. But on the left-hand side there, you can see the sales from the first season. And look at that. Klukas, 15 million back to the Premier League. Maguire, now the Manchester United captain, 12 million to Leicester in the Premier League. Andy Robertson, 8 million. He's going to go on and win a European Cup and a Premier League trophy. And some wage cutting there. Huddleston and Davis both to Derby. El Mohammadi ends up back with Steve Bruce at Aston Villa. It's very easy for me to be wise after the event here, but look, obviously if players are too good for the Championship, Maguire, Klukas, and Robertson particularly, then, if they agitate and their agents press, then they go. But there is an argument that the best way to manage that situation could have been to maybe at least keep one of them and try and build a promotion winning team and make your money by getting back up. But obviously that wasn't to be the case, and it's an 18th place finish in the end. And you can see in the second season under Atkins, just a mass wage cutting spree here. Mailer, Hernandez, Dawson, McGregor particularly, Seb Larson, possibly Odebajo as well. All presumably decent paid Championship players, but we can see a system here of asset stripping, pulling assets out of the club, the biggest obviously being the parachute payments, trying to keep as much as possible and retool for cheaper. And as you can imagine, that is only going to see you go in one direction. Grant McCann comes at the start of this season. And even there, just look at that first line of that story there. Doncaster manager, so he's unproven, on a 12-month rolling deal. I mean, why would you do that? Yes, I accept the example of someone like Bielsa, who's this fabulously tenured manager who leads are desperate to have, so he can say, look, I'll decide at the end of the season, every season, what I'm going to do. Whereas, really, is that what Hull are doing? I don't think so. I think what they're doing is they're leaving their options open at any point, not to leave any reasonably large liabilities on the balance sheet, and they can chop and change as they please. However, excuse me, do apologise. It went quite well for Grant McCann. That's the results up to January the 1st, and you can see a couple of really nice splurges there. There's about 5 wins in 10 games there, culminating with a 3-0 win at Fulham, who are ultimately going to finish in the top 4. And then down the bottom there, another 4-win splurge, but 3 wins in 4 at the end there. Some really decent results, not incredibly heavy amount of defeat. And considering it was 18th and 13th under Slutsky and Adkins, that is the table on the 1st of January. And Hull were in 8th position with a +6 goal difference, 1 point off the playoffs, 16 points ahead of relegation. I'll repeat that, 16 points with over half a season done ahead of relegation. So the alarms are probably thinking at this point, well, we're gradually, managing to strip assets, including parachute payments, Klukas, Maguire, Robertson, etc., etc. We're cutting the wage bill, even in terms of management, and we're moving up the table. This is great, isn't it? However, I think we all know what's coming. The January transfer window, the final really good on-pitch assets. Remember, the parachute assets are done at the end of this season. All the other players are gone now. And here go Jared Bowen and Kamil Grzycki. Grzycki in the last year of his contract, 31 years old. You can see there goes for a relatively low fee, but they got what they could, 850 grand, instead of keeping him to maybe score some points. So I wonder about that one. The one above, obviously, £20 million coming in for a 23-year-old English player, but he'd scored a vast percentage of Hull's goals over 3 seasons now, just doing it over and over again. But they bank the 20 million. And, well, what happens when you continually pull out assets from a club off and on the pitch? That happens, just absolutely dire. That is the results from January the 1st onwards. And it's just, it couldn't be much worse, could it? I don't want to be disingenuous. I don't think Bowen left until the end of January. I think Grzycki possibly went earlier on in January. So, maybe the first 3 games they still had him. I don't recall exactly when he went. But look, 4 straight defeats, 2 points in 3, 5 straight defeats. So what's that? It's about 11, 12 games with 2 points. Direction of travel, not good. We're at the other side of lockdown now. One little chink of light there, 4 points across 2 games. And that included a last-minute stoppage time winner against Middlesbrough there. And just to round the season off there, another 6 straight defeats. And from that position, 8th place, 1 point off the playoffs, 16 points above relegation with a positive goal difference. There you have it. Wow, minus 30 on the goal difference, bottom of the league. And look, the teams that were below. Well, do you know what? I've got a better way of telling that story. Here is a table from January the 2nd onwards. And I mean, how bad is that? 6 points, miles worse than everybody else. 11 points worse than Sheffield Wednesday. Where are the 2 other relegated teams? Well, Charlton went down. Obviously, Wigan is a different story with the points deduction. Wigan scored 30 more points than Hull in that time. But look at who they were challenging against. Look at Luton in 10th, scored 30 points to Hull's 6. Stoke, 32. Where's Barnsley? 12th, 28. Just, there are not many other ways to describe how dire things were after the final assets were sold. We saw a little fallout between Hull and the Athletic journalists here. An investigation report, you can read that on the Athletic there. I think you can do a 3-month free trial subscription. The Alarm, an investigation has uncovered. Here are the bullet points. The Alarm family still want more than 40 million to sell the club. Hull will fight for survival. Lehigh and Irvine, other out-of-contract players asked to be played for 3. They didn't do it. Players reject a 20% pay cut while suspended. It's understood not every player took a 25% wage deferral. In February 2016, 3 months before Hull, leading Hull to the Premier League via the playoffs, then manager Steve Bruce was sacked and reinstated after a row about payment of a member of staff while he supported his family. Oh dear. One foul takeover included an attempt to impose a condition that Bruce must be sacked as manager. The extent of the discord between the club's owners and the swathes of its fan base, dating back to Assam Assam's attempt to rename than the Hull Tigers. So it's just run and run and run. So in very simple terms, I can put back my what caused this relegation. Too small? No, they've been in the Premier League. Freak bad season? No, they were 8th. And I think we can chart this. The bottom one, owners relegate clubs. I think that one is blindly obvious in this case. What happens next for Hull? I don't know. Are the alarms in a position now to sit and wait for their 40 million quid, run it as cheaply as they can, and not really be bothered where the team finishes, as long as the losses are capped at a certain amount? That wouldn't play well. Will Hull be too big now for League One? Can they have a decent campaign? Will they keep Grant McCann? If not, who? Could go any particular way for Hull now in League One. I would say their fans have my sympathy over. Look, not every club can have an owner that's prepared to prop things up, but this does seem to be just a systemic pulling out of any money that was there over a fairly long period now. And there's got to be a sense that here, on the one hand, is making a profit, and here is running a sporting entity to actually win. Somewhere in the middle, somewhere there is a grey area where you do both, whereas this appears to be not particularly caring in the long run whether the sporting entity wins or not. And ultimately, that will kill your ability to make any money anyway. So, wow, how very depressing for Hull fans. If you're a Hull fan watching, let me know if I called that right. The video is made, obviously, with full respect to your plight. And if I have got anything wrong, please correct me. And if you can do it politely, as often doesn't happen with A, YouTube comments, and B, emotional fans of their club. As I say, the video was made with respect, and don't let your emotions overcome your reasons. I am a sympathetic football fan, just trying to report the facts here. If you're a fan of any other team, did you see this coming like we all did? At what point? I think most of us went Bowen and Grzycki. Although how many of us actually thought they would plummet 6 points from the last 20 games or whatever it was, that deep? Let me know your thoughts on the Hull City situation, and have I called that one right? Obviously, we will do Wigan and Charlton over the coming days, despite all the caveats there are, particularly on Wigan. You can support the channel via Super Chat in all the live streams. Subscribe on Patreon as well to donate money. Trying to make a go of this part or full time now. There's been great support from subscribers, so long may that continue, hopefully, and we can continue bringing what hopefully you've enjoyed this video, what hopefully is enjoyable content. You can still super chat after the fact, because I'll put it up as a premiere. Just hit the live chat button for absolutely free. You can hit the thumbs up button, which helps other people find this video. Put a comment in. All engagement is good. Like I say, you are entitled to your opinion. Everyone is entitled to free speech. Let's just try and be nice to each other and polite, and make this one corner of YouTube where it's not football fans, frankly, being pricks to each other. Let's rise above that. But in the main, if you're watching this video right now, on the same screen you're on your phone, you can hit the subscribe button. We have gone over 10,000 subscribers during lockdown. It's been absolutely brilliant, and that is a vital metric in the channel growing. And it's been brilliant. So do hit that subscribe button for more content. If you're a Hull fan watching, we will be doing, this is a championship channel, but we'll be doing the Dearly Departed show next year, where we look at the teams who've left the championship as well. So we will still take a look at Hull and see how they are going. Right, thank you everybody for watching. That is my thoughts on Hull City's relegation and where it went wrong. Get in the comments, get that debate going, and Hull fans, good luck going forward. Over and out.